If the topics we explore today resonate with you, it might be a sign to seek a supportive space for your own journey. Michael C. Thompson, the licensed professional counselor behind Calm Mind Behavioral Health Counseling, offers convenient and confidential online therapy, allowing you to engage from the comfort of your own home. He specializes in helping individuals navigate complex challenges like depression, men's issues, and addictive behaviors by fostering deep self-awareness and genuine self-compassion. Take the first step and visit calmmind.life to schedule a free, no-obligation 15-minute consultation. Hello, and welcome to the Mindful Insights podcast. I'm Charlie Michaels, here with my wonderful co-host, Michelle Thomas.
It's great to be here, Charlie. Today, we're starting a brand new chapter in our series on personality disorders, and it's one that I think many listeners will find incredibly relatable.
That's right. For the past several weeks, we've been doing a deep dive into the framework of personality. We started with Cluster A, which is known as the odd or eccentric group, covering conditions like paranoid and schizotypal personality disorder.
And then we moved into the very intense and often dramatic world of Cluster B, the dramatic, emotional, or erratic cluster. We explored the complexities of conditions like borderline and narcissistic personality disorder.
Today, we're opening the door to the third and final group, Cluster C, which is defined as the anxious or fearful cluster.
This is such an important group. While the behaviors of Cluster B can be very external and dramatic, the suffering in Cluster C is often quieter, more internal, and defined by a powerful driving engine of anxiety.
Exactly. The cluster includes three distinct disorders: avoidant personality disorder, dependent personality disorder, and obsessive-compulsive personality disorder. And one of our sources, as so clearly puts it, while they're all grouped together, they really represent three different maladaptive strategies for managing that core anxiety.
That's such a brilliant framework. You have the profound fear of rejection and inadequacy, which leads to a strategy of avoidance. You have the deep fear of separation and abandonment, which leads to a strategy of clinging. And you have the fear of chaos and imperfection, which leads to a strategy of rigid, perfectionistic control.
Precisely. And we're starting our exploration of Cluster C today with the first one, a condition that embodies that fear of rejection in its most painful and pervasive form, avoidant personality disorder. And before we dive in, just a gentle reminder that while we explore topics related to emotional well-being, we are not mental health professionals. This conversation is for educational purposes only and is not a substitute for therapy or advice from a qualified professional. Please be sure to seek out guidance for your individual needs. So, Michelle, let's start at the very foundation. Avoidant personality disorder, or APVD, is defined by a pervasive pattern of social inhibition, feelings of inadequacy, and hypersensitivity to negative evaluation.
I think the first question that pops into most people's minds is, isn't that just being extremely shy? We all know people who are introverted or get nervous in new situations. How does this cross the line into a disorder?
That is the most critical distinction to make. Shyness is a trait. APVD is a disorder. The line is crossed when that pattern becomes pervasive, inflexible, and leads to clinically significant distress or impairment. This isn't just feeling awkward at a party. It's a pattern so severe that it prevents you from taking a job promotion, making friends, or having an intimate relationship, even when you desperately want to.
And that right there is the painful central paradox of the entire disorder, isn't it? Unlike schizoid personality disorder, where the person is isolated and generally indifferent to it, the person with APVD is just as isolated but desperately craves connection. They are lonely, and their isolation is a source of profound pain.
Exactly. Their fundamental human need for affiliation is functionally crippled by an overpowering core belief that they are inherently inferior, unappealing, or unlovable. It's an internal schism. I want to connect versus I am certain you will reject me. And this fear of rejection isn't just a worry, it's a certainty.
The diagnostic criteria actually describe a closed-loop system that makes this disorder so rigid and self-sustaining. The core belief, as you said, is criterion 6, considers self as socially inept, personally unappealing, or inferior to others.
That core belief then drives all the avoidance behaviors, avoiding work activities, being restrained in relationships, and being reluctant to take any personal risks. But there's one criterion, Michelle, that you pointed out is the linchpin that locks the whole system in place.
Its criterion 2 is unwilling to get involved with people unless certain of being liked. Think about that. In the real ambiguous world of human relationships, when are you ever certain of being liked? It's an impossible standard to meet. This criterion functions as an impenetrable firewall.
That's a perfect metaphor, and that firewall prevents the individual from ever having the new, positive social experiences that could challenge their negative belief. The resulting isolation, which they themselves engineered, is then misinterpreted as proof of their core belief. See, I'm alone. I knew I was unlovable.
It's tragic. The disorder's own defenses actively prevent the exact experiences that could lead to its remission. So from the outside, you see a person who is quiet, timid, or shy, but on the inside, it's not quiet at all. It's a world of terror, driven by a core belief of worthlessness.
A terror of being found out as inadequate. It's a defensive maneuver born of that terror to protect against the anticipated and subjectively certain pain of rejection. Let's take a quick break. And when we return, we'll explore where this devastating perfect storm of a disorder comes from.
We'll be right back.
With Christmas right around the corner, if you're looking for the perfect gift, consider the novel Anger's Bitch by Michael C. Thompson. It's a character-driven drama that pulls you in from the first page. While it's an intriguing drama, it also touches on complex issues like out-of-control anger, people-pleasing, and the power of self-acceptance. It's a powerful story about the weight of the past and the courage it takes to earn a second chance. Anger's Bitch is available in paperback and ebook now on Amazon. And we're excited to announce the audio version will be available this December on Audible.
Welcome back to Mindful Insights. Before the break, we mapped out the what of avoidant personality disorder, a self-sustaining loop where a core belief of inferiority drives avoidance, which in turn proves the inferiority. So the million-dollar question is why? Where does this begin?
The research points to what's described as a perfect storm of developmental factors, a true biopsychosocial narrative. It starts with the bio part, genetics and temperament.
That's right. Studies estimate the heritability of AVPD to be as high as 64%, which is significant. But this isn't a gene for AVPD. It's an inherited temperament. Specifically, it's a biological predisposition for what's called high harm avoidance.
And high harm avoidance is just what it sounds like. A child who is born, metaphorically speaking, with their emotional volume knob turned way up. They're innately more shy, anxious, fearful, and sensitive to distress. This temperament, this biological sensitivity, is stage 1 of the perfect storm.
Then comes stage 2, the social or environmental piece. This highly sensitive child, who by definition requires extra reassurance and affection, instead experiences the exact opposite, an early environment of parental rejection, emotional neglect, or low affection.
That is the tragic interaction. The research is so consistent here. Adults with AVPD are far more likely to look back and perceive their parents as less affectionate, more rejecting, and even guilt-engendering. Childhood emotional neglect is a primary risk factor. This gene-environment transaction moves us to stage 3, the psychological formation.
This is where that early experience hardens into a fearful attachment style and a core cognitive schema. I am inherently unappealing and others are critical and rejecting. This becomes the lens through which they see the entire world.
Which brings us to stage 4, the broader social environment. This child, now already convinced of their own inadequacy, enters school. And what happens? They're more likely to experience peer group rejection, teasing, or social failures. But they don't see these events as isolated or as kids just being kids. They see it as profound proof of their core schema.
And that's the final step, stage 5, pathology. Avoidance becomes the primary reinforced coping strategy. It's adaptive in the short term to prevent pain, but over time it becomes chronic, pervasive, and rigid, hardening into the stable egocentric pattern of a personality disorder.
It's a heartbreaking and predictable pathway. It really reframes the disorder not as a choice, but as the tragic outcome of a highly sensitive child being raised in an environment that failed to meet their needs.
Exactly. This also helps us understand one of the most confusing parts of diagnosis, how AVPD is different from its clinical neighbors. We'll dive into that right after this. Looking for a story that's as gripping as it is insightful? The novel Anger's Bitch by Michael C. Thompson is a character-driven drama that pulls you in from the first page and doesn't let go. It's a powerful story about the weight of the past and the courage it takes to earn a second chance. With unforgettable characters and a plot that keeps you guessing, this is more than just a book. It's an experience. If you love a story with soul, heart, and suspense, Anger's Bitch is your next must-read. Available now on Amazon. Welcome back to Mindful Insights. We've established that APD is a complex disorder born from a perfect storm of biology and a neglectful environment. This brings us to the most critical diagnostic challenge, telling APD apart from social anxiety disorder, or SAD.
This is the biggest point of confusion for clinicians and the public. There's a theory called the severity continuum hypothesis, which basically says APD is just a really, really severe case of social anxiety disorder. But the evidence overwhelmingly suggests they are qualitatively different conditions. In fact, studies show that about 2/3 of people with APD do not meet the criteria for SAD.
This is the most important takeaway for our listeners. The distinction comes down to one thing: identity versus performance.
Let's break that down. Social anxiety disorder, SAD, is a performance-driven phobia. The core fear is, I'm afraid I will do or say something embarrassing and people will judge me for it. A person with SAD can have a perfectly healthy self-esteem outside of their specific phobic situations and often recognizes their fear is irrational.
Exactly. But avoidant personality disorder, APD, is a disorder of identity. The core belief is not, I'm afraid I'll do something stupid. The core belief is, I'm afraid they will discover I am stupid. It's a deep, pervasive, egocentric belief that they are inferior, inadequate, or personally unappealing. The fear is of others discovering this truth.
That distinction changes everything. And it's backed up by the etiological data. Studies comparing the two have found that APD is associated with significantly more severe childhood neglect, particularly physical neglect, than SAD is. Treating APD as a simple phobia with short-term exposure therapy is, as one source put it, a foolish mindset that is destined to fail because it doesn't address the core negative self-concept.
Now, Michelle, there's another common confusion that's really important to clarify. People often mix up avoidant personality disorder with an avoidant attachment style. They sound similar, but they're not the same thing.
That's such a crucial distinction, Charlie. An attachment style is a concept from developmental psychology. It describes our pattern of relating to others in intimate relationships, which is formed in early childhood. A person with an avoidant attachment style might be uncomfortable with closeness, value independence to an extreme, and suppress their feelings. They can often still function, they might have a successful career and social acquaintances, but they struggle with intimacy.
Exactly. The attachment style is a pattern, but the personality disorder is pervasive and defined by impairment. As we've been discussing, APD involves a deep-seated, pervasive feeling of inadequacy
and a hypersensitivity to all negative evaluation, not just in intimate relationships, but with everyone, at work, with strangers, in all social contexts. It's that core belief of being inferior and the resulting global avoidance that defines the disorder.
A good way to think about it is that someone with an avoidant attachment style is afraid of being engulfed or losing their independence. Someone with avoidant personality disorder is afraid of being rejected because they believe they are fundamentally worthless. While they can co-occur, they aren't the same thing. APD is a much more severe, pervasive, and impairing clinical condition.
That's a perfect clarification. And that level of impairment is why treatment is so vital. But the central challenge is that the disorder itself fights the therapy. The person with APD is programmed to expect rejection. So they will sit in the room with a therapist, scanning every word and gesture for the criticism they know is coming.
It's the ultimate test of the therapeutic alliance. The alliance isn't just a prerequisite for therapy, it is the therapy. Psychotherapy is the treatment of choice. Longer-term models like psychodynamic therapy or schema therapy are often needed.
Exactly. Psychodynamic therapy can provide a reparative relationship where the patient can, for the first time, experience a corrective attachment and develop earned security. Schema therapy, which is an integrative model, has also shown incredible promise as it's designed to directly target and heal those deep-seated core beliefs like the defectiveness or shame schema.
But what about medication, Charlie?
That is the critical question, and the answer is a clear and simple no. There are no FDA-approved medications to treat the personality disorder itself. The role of medication is purely adjunctive.
I read a brilliant metaphor for this. The medication, like an SSRI, is a life jacket. A life jacket cannot teach you how to swim. It can't fix that core belief of worthlessness.
But what it can do is stop you from drowning. The pill can lower that negative affectivity, that overwhelming ambient anxiety and depression. It's the life jacket that keeps you afloat so you can show up for and tolerate the difficult work of the swimming lessons, which is the therapy itself.
And this work is so vital because the prognosis, if left untreated, is devastating. The ultimate tragedy of APD isn't the presence of anxiety, it's the profound absence of a life. It's a life not lived.
That's it. The functional impairment is a vacuum. It's the accumulation of decades of nots. The job promotion not taken, the relationship not pursued, the new hobby not tried.
And that void, that empty, lonely existence is what causes the secondary depression, the substance use, and the deep dissatisfaction with life. This is why the goal of treatment isn't just to reduce fear, it's to help the patient reclaim a life.
A powerful and hopeful place to end. Let's take one final break. Do you ever feel adrift, unsure of what you truly want out of life? The latest post on the Mindful Insight Substack, Finding Purpose and Living Values, explores how to reconnect with what truly matters. It's about moving beyond societal expectations and discovering your own authentic direction. To help you on this journey, there's a free value clarification exercise available at calmmind.life. It's a powerful tool to help you identify your core principles and start building a more meaningful life today. Visit calmmind.life to get started. Michelle, this was such an important topic to kick off our series on Cluster C. The biggest takeaway for me is seeing the profound desire for connection that is hidden just beneath the terror of it.
I agree. It's about reframing that profound isolation. It's not a fortress of indifference like we see in schizoid PD.